Hello and welcome to the Armory. Today we are going to be talking about the No2 Mark I Enfield Revolver. But first, if you like firearms related content, hit that like and subscribe button so that you can be notified as soon as we have new content available. But this time what we're doing is we are actually going to be cleaning this really rusted revolver here. And it is in worse shape than I could have ever imagined. You see all this red oxide on here, and I've already started doing a little bit of cleanup on it just to see what we were working with. And as you can see here on the barrel, we've got some real rust damage here. We could say screw it, go to Apex, buy a new barrel for it, new cylinder, because the cylinder also has pitting damage. Or we could do what we're going to do, and that's clean it up, see what we got. We're gonna get this thing cleaned up, see what we got, and see if it's even going to be safe to shoot. If it's not safe to shoot, then well, we're left with going to a new barrel and cylinder. But I really don't want to do that because all the parts on this gun already match. And I don't really want to have another parts gun sitting around here. So the frame numbers, the barrel numbers, and also the cylinder here, all these parts are all matching. But let's get you down here so you can see what we've been doing about knocking off the rust, and we are going to go from there and see what we can do. Alrighty, so we already started cleaning up this side a little bit because I wanted to see what we had to go with. We're using a brass brush just to knock off the top layer of rust. You really don't want to scrub with it because, as you can see, scrubbing will take away your bluing. And we really don't want to, I mean, yes, if we reblue this, it's going to be getting reblued anyways, but we're just looking at getting rid of that top thick layer of rust. So let's come down here and start working on this. And I don't like this rust here. Kind of looks like a lacquer with it, and I don't understand why. And I'm just doing this lightly. I'm not really scrubbing because we are going to convert this and see what we got going on. But because the last thing we want to do is really just do this multiple times. But we may have to, and I hate to say that. But I'm really not giving it a good scrub or anything. I just want to get the top layer of oxide off so that when we go and put this in the boiling water, it'll be good to go. And we want to really get what we can. As you can see here, you see this red oxide here, and we just hit it with the brush. Really fades itself away a little bit. And all this is going in. But one issue we really have with this gun right now that we're going to really find out here in a minute what's going on, and I think it's just a rust issue. Because first off, the trigger doesn't want to reset. That could just be rust and gunk in this, especially with how this looks. But also, we go to pull the trigger or even pull the hammer back. Cylinder does not want to rotate quite easily. But if we help it, it'll lock into place and it'll fire. So let's try that again. But now right here, I have the cylinder pretty loose from the mechanism, and it's very stiff. Let's open this up for you so you can really see. And before we convert this, we're actually going to disassemble this and actually scrub it like we were doing here, just like this, just giving it some light scrubs. That way we can see, but let's take a look at this cylinder real quick so we know what we're working with. It moves, but it does not really move too freely. For a good example on something similar, and yes, that's actually, I just realized something. We have a good sign here. So we open this up, and the ejector is working properly. So we do have that working in our favor. Let's grab our other similar gun right here, and you see here we open this up and the cylinder spins freely. So I think our entire issue with the hammer not wanting to rotate the cylinder, I think it's all just this gunk up works in here. So we're going to get this disassembled. One thing I said we were going to do was get some penetrating oil on all these screws. Well, I have actually tried all these screws except for this one here, which I really do not want to mess with. It looks pretty, and it looks like it's in pretty bad shape. So all of these do come loose. So we are going to actually take our gun screwdriver kit here, and this is actually my dad's before he passed away a couple years ago, and I inherited it, and this has become my favorite go-to gun screwdriver kit that I use, and I use it on all my guns that have screws. So what we do is we find the proper fitting bit, and what we might have to do sometimes is might look right, do like a little test fit. So we do a little test fit here, grab a different one, see if it fits better. But you really want to get the right fit for your screwdriver bit so that you don't strip out these bolts. And we're actually going to talk about that in our Arasaka video, because on our Arasaka we actually ended up having to replace some screws because somebody else did not use the proper screwdriver, and the screws were just so rusted and rotted in that they were just so rotted in there. I mean, trying to get them out, when I tried to get them out, because the heads were already mangled, I ended up having to use a special tool to get it out, and that just completely finished off the heads. Luckily, I was able to get new old stock. Well, not really new old stock, but I was able to get original screws for them that we can replace them with. But we will talk about that in our Arasaka video and why it is important to use the proper fitting screwdriver. So we got our grips. We're going to put our grips over here to the side. We are going to clean those up as well. As you can see here, we got quite a bit of that red oxide on it from the metal. But let's get some of that up. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and start working on getting this apart. Sometimes if you're not able to, if you got the right fitting screwdriver like this and you're not able to necessarily break it free, one thing I like about this kit is that it comes with, let's do this for an example right here, this screw right here. We got this little ratchet here that'll give us a little more leverage than a regular screwdriver handle. So we're going to go ahead completely get this thing apart, because honestly it needs it. We got to get this thing figured out why it's not working properly, and we got to get this rust gone, because if we keep the red rust on there, it's going to continue to oxidize and eat away at the metal. So that is our priority right now, is to get rid of all that. And off camera here, you probably don't see it, but I'm setting our screws in basically in the order I take them off, and that way when we get it apart, like we are working on right now, oh my gosh, that is on there. And I think that's our problem. Oh, look at all of that. That is just nasty. Let's go ahead and hit that up real quick. How about this for a little project? But this is turning out to be a little more than just a little project. So we're going to set that to the side. Going to pop this. Going to take a look at that. I mean, everything's just all gummed up on this. We're going to have to clean all these cylinders. We're going to use a brass brush in here to clean these out before we convert it. But this is just, oh my gosh. I think this is our issue. I really do. I think our entire issue with the cylinder not rotating, I mean, if I had to spend that much effort getting it off, that is more than likely our issue. So I'm going to continue on cleaning this up, and then we are going to, next time you see me, we're going to be at the pot of boiling water, converting this metal from red oxide to black oxide. So we'll see you there. All right, we've gotten this converted, and actually we had to convert this a couple times. Unfortunately, the rust was just that bad. We had to really dig into these pits and everything. So it's quite ugly, and the ways we can take care of these pits, I'm not going to do. It's going to take too much time, too much money. The other option we have is to replace the barrel and cylinder. But at that point, this is no longer a all matching numbers gun. If we replace those, it'll still go bang, it'll still work, and that's because the cylinder here, there's no pitting or anything inside the cylinder. It's all on the exterior. Same with the barrel here, there is zero pitting inside the barrel. So
we won't have any issues with that. It's just not the best looking. We did go ahead and rust blue these areas here and to blend it in, and we oiled it in used motor oil after we blued it, and there's good reason for that. Other people have already covered that in videos. Mark Novak's really good with that, with covering all that. But we went ahead and rust blued this just so we could stop the decay. And we are now going to be getting it back together. So I do apologize right now. My voice is a little out. That's also because I have a sinus infection and we're still got to get this done. So we just have to do it. We just have to struggle through. So what we're actually going to do first was we're going to take our frame here, and we're going to, I like to assemble the frame first on this because it makes everything just a lot more easier in my opinion. So we're going to take our frame here, make sure we're still in view. And then the first step we actually have to do is this recoil plate will have to be installed first. And the way you do that, it's quite simple. Shiny side is our shiny side here is out. This bevel here is facing it down, whereas the back side is completely flat. But you want to get this on first because when you put your internals in, it'll interact with this plate. So you want to go ahead and do that. We're going to take our little mallet here. I'm going to go ahead and use the nylon side instead of the brass side. You know, it really probably wouldn't matter. We're going to tap that. And we got this. Let me grab my little pointer here. We got this hole here that we are going to have to line up with the screw hole. So we are going to point this towards us so we can see, and I can see the hole. All right, let's go ahead and grab our screw. Let's just make sure we got the right screw. I think we got the right screw here. And if we're off, we're going to start everything by hand so we don't strip it. Usually these screws strip going in. So that's what we need to be very careful about. Screws don't really strip coming out, they strip going in. All right. So that was definitely the right screw. And it's important, as I said before, it's important to use the correct screwdriver. I am actually using a gun screwdriver that is specifically meant for guns. So the last thing we really want to do is start rounding everything off. All right. And when we're done with this screw, you can see I got a little bit of oil coming out. This will pretty much be flush with our recoil plate. See? All right. So then our next step is going to be to put the cylinder stop and spring in. So let's go ahead and grab that here. And you got to be real careful. This here is the spring for the cylinder stop. It's tiny, easy to lose. And I'm just glad I got the rig in here so I can use both hands. What I'm going to do on this, because let's grab this one here for a pointer. This little divot in here is where our spring will sit, like so. If you're familiar with AR-15 builds, they have something similar. where the trigger spring just sits in there. I'm not here to talk about AR-15s. So what we are going to do is we are going to set the cylinder stop and spring in here. We have to actually depress the spring as we kind of go on. So what I actually like to do before I put the spring is I kind of like to get it kind of settled in here. And as you see, it'll just slide in there. So we got that started. So before it actually goes in, let's go ahead and get it just partially in. And yes, this gun does have small parts. We're then going to set. And right now the screwdriver the little pocket screwdriver I usually use is out with all our bluing supplies, because I do not do it here inside the shop. I do it in the garage section of our shop. And the whole reason I do it that way is just chemicals. You don't want it really inside the building. And that's because of how our shop is designed. All right, so we got that. Depress the spring. And I do apologize about my hand being in the way. Honestly, it really can't be helped right now. It's just a really, really, really small spring. So we gotta get it all depressed in there, and then it slides in, and your cylinder stop is now in. We can press it all day long, and it's going to do its job. All right, so we're just going to come in here, check our spring, make sure our spring is in right. We might have to move it a little bit just to kind of get it in position, but overall it's working. So then our next thing we're going to put in is our trigger assembly. I did not remove this plunger here. That's okay, you don't have to. But before we put this in, I do apologize. The part we're about to put in with this, I don't actually know the actual name for this part here, but it slides onto this channel here. And there's only one way you can go on. Your pins all stick in one direction towards your plate. So what that's going to do is when we drop our trigger in, you're going to move this into position. And some people I've seen, well, actually, let me show you. Instead of setting it in here, they will set it. They will set it on the trigger and just drop it all in at once. Just like that. Alrighty, so the next thing I'm going to grab is actually going to be our hammer assembly. We're just going to drop that one in. If we can find the hole. Not normally a problem I have. We have that depressed, put that in. Now everything, and you want to check this as you go. You want to make sure everything's working properly as you go. So as you see how everything's moving, that's how we want it. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to grab our hand, which this is what rotates the cylinder. And I made a mistake. That's okay. We can take care of it. It's no biggie. I put this piece in the wrong hole. Quick, easy fix. I've had this apart. Oh, it's been a couple weeks since we started this. So we've had this apart for a while. So it's just remember exactly where everything goes. With technology, you can always take pictures of where everything goes. That way you know when you're going back in, everything's where it needs to be. So we are then taking our hand. We are going to put our hand in here. And what happens is that, again, so as this works, as you pull that trigger back or you pull the hammer back, the trigger gets pulled back, the hand pushes up on the cylinder here and rotates it to the next available cylinder. So we are then going to take our mainspring lever, and this goes in right here, but you also got to remember it comes in right here like so. And my first time I reassembled one of these, I was trying to figure out why it wasn't going together right. I forgot to take pictures and everything, and this I had moved up here instead of where it actually belongs, and nothing was working right. And that was my fault then. But what we're going to do, we are going to set this in and maneuver it until, so there is a groove in your hand. And I'm going to actually remove the hand to show you this. This groove right here, this cut in the groove, that is where this mainspring lever sits. So we're going to get that back in there. And then we are going to take our pin that goes in here, and we are just going to, oh, maybe tap it in. And now that lever is in. So all that really leaves us with is our mainspring inside. So again, this is going to be a two-handed job. Your mainspring is going to sit, so you got these hooks here that hook onto this lever here on your trigger assembly. So they're going to go in here, but what I've had issues with is I have to squeeze the spring and set it in. So now we just check before we put our side plate on, make sure everything works properly. Pull the trigger. And everything looks like it's operating properly. Which now, with that operating properly, with everything working here, we can then go ahead and put our side plate on. So, and I'm just lightly pressing on it before we put our screws in. So what we got is these 4 screws here. These are the 4 screws that hold the side plate on. And one thing I've noticed is it's easier to remember where things go when you set everything out as you take it apart. So, and that's the method that's always worked for me. So whenever we get a gun here in the shop, we make sure that when we take it apart, unless we have to move it, we lay everything out where we need it, so that when we come back to it to go back together, everything is in an organized pattern. You may have not seen that. A lot of the stuff that I've been showing is some of my personal stuff, but when we have a customer's gun, we try our best to just keep everything in a section on one of our workbenches. We have multiple workbenches throughout here. This is just one of the workbenches in the studio. So that's why I brought everything back in here to put all this back together. So we're going to get this back together here. And then we are going to work on assembling the barrel assembly before we actually continue to move on to our lever. And that's just personal. The lever, for me, the lever's been one of my big pains in the butts on these, because you got the spring and nothing wants to line up. Gets a little frustrating at times, but actually let's go ahead and do that. So we got our lever here, sits in these grooves, but as you see, like right here, it all fits pretty darn good, right? Well, here's our screw for that. We got one problem. This is the spring for your lever. So we got to make sure this not only sits in here, and there's a little groove on the plate, this little indent where this actually sits. So this hole, there's this little indent here that goes into the hole on the plate for your lever spring. But now that's where our issue lies, because now our hole's not lined up. What I like to do, I gotta figure out where I put it. Let's grab one of our punches here. I like to use if I can, I like to use a punch to kind of work everything together and act as a guide. I'm going to go with a slightly bigger punch if I can. Is this one too big? No, this one is not. So what we're going to do, we are going to stick this all the way through. Now what that's doing for me is holding this in place so I have my hands to work with. I will back it out ever so slightly. And I will start with this bolt that goes through, and that's if it's not being a royal pain in the butt. But I will use that to start and it's going to be a pain. I use that, I kind of hold it, pull it, and I'll stick it in. Might have to use a little force. I really don't want to if I don't have to. Yeah. It's just not wanting to line up. So I may have to do this off camera and come back to it. All right, so funny story. As soon as we got this off camera, the bolt slid in and popped our punch out. So now we've got the thread started. I just had to get it closer to my body to actually get this to go in. We can actually start screwing our lever in. All right, so now, other than the grips, our entire assembly here is together. So now we are going to move over to our barrel assembly. And this really is very, very simple. You can put your cylinder and your cylinder retaining cam on before you put the barrel on the action, or you can do what we're going to do, and we're going to put the barrel on the frame and then put the cylinder on. So we're going to take our extractor lever. We are just going to throw it in, and it is important how you put this in. And I think it only goes one way. Let's do a quick. Nope, it does not go one way. Well, it does go one way, but you could accidentally put it in the wrong way. When you have your barrel assembly in your hand, the extractor lever, you want the hook facing towards the cylinder, because that's what's going to actually actuate your cylinder. So we'd rather do this right the first time. So we got that in, it just slides right on in. And we are going to take our assembly here, so our frame, and we are going to slide this in. Now we have this retaining rod. I forget the exact name of it off the top of my head. I would have to look it up. But this actually goes through, and this is what everything, the barrel pivots on. So it goes in, and it only goes on through one side. This section here, as you can see how it has that half moon shape, that is what locks in right here. So let's make sure everything's ready to go. That's why I just use my punch to do that, and we just kind of wiggle it. If I have to, we're going to come over here to the other side, take our punch, just to move things around, and we're going to apply a little bit of pressure on it, on our cam here. Let's open it back up. You'll figure it's always this time when it gives me the issues. Let's go with a bigger. All right, so what's going on here? All right. I'm just having technical difficulties. There we go. Work it, work it, work it. Do what we got to do to make it work, and it should just, if you got it lined up right, it'll just slide on through like so. So now we got that in. So then we have a couple options here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with our cylinder and our cam, our cylinder ring cam retainer here. Or cylinder retainer, I'm sorry. And these two unique bolts right here, these screws, they have a unique head, you can't miss them. This is what actually holds the retainer in on this. So, screw one in. And pretty much these bolts, these screws, they... And we didn't get it locked in. That's my fault. So let's remove it. It's kind of hard to mix your bolts up, and that's because they made these in such a way that when you take them apart, hey, you got 4 here, 2 here. This is which one is which. So it kind of made it a little easy to know which goes where. So we come over onto the other side. Grab our other screw. And that's why I say we start by hand. I backed off because it didn't feel like it was going to start right. And sometimes I do use a flat blade just to make sure everything's lined up. But that was not one of the times when I should have. And there it is. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, find somebody who does. The last thing we really need you to do is to destroy one of these old guns, especially one that's in a lot better condition than this one is. So then we're going to take our first bolt over here while we are on this side, the screw, and we got 2 of them, and these hold the retainer in so that it doesn't, so everything doesn't fall out when you're shooting it. So here we go. And don't need to use a lot of force bolting these, screwing these on. All right. Then we're going to take our cam lever here. And we are going to make sure it is on correctly. As I said, there's only really one way these go on. So let's go ahead and set this. Set that up there. Take a look at it. So you got a big hole and a small hole on this. Big hole, small hole. So what we're going to do is we are going to get that on. This here is going to go in on this side, which we are going to get a different screwdriver for. But our cam lever, so that actually does hold our cam lever in place here. It comes through from this side all the way to the other side and protrudes out. Let's get the cam lever off if we can, if it'll let me. So as we see here, protrudes out. So let's go ahead and get that screwed on just so it makes it easier to explain. All right. Making sure you have the right screwdriver for the job is always important. All right, so now that's tight. So as you can see here, how that is protruding out like that, and that just so that can sit on there, so that you only at this point need one bolt instead of 2, just to hold this on one side. I mean, yes, you still have 2 bolts. This goes all the way through. But again, I didn't design it. They did. They know what they were doing. It's obvious. So we just put this locking screw in. And I know I ramble. I really do. I'm working on that. We're going to actually go ahead and shorten our driver here. Make sure these screws are all tight. Now, if you remember when we started this whole assembly here did not work. So we're just doing a check, function check, comes back, cylinder rotates, goes bang. Now we double action. Everything is now working. All that was stopping this firearm from working was years of neglected maintenance, and that is from all the rust that was through this. And it was obvious, not only did we have the pitting here, but all throughout the cylinder where it rides on the barrel here, that was so rusted up that it stopped everything back here from working. And a lot of times, if your gun isn't working properly and nothing is physically broken, you might just need to clean it. I really hate to say that, but sometimes a good cleaning goes a long way. So we're going to end that here, and we will get our grips cleaned up a little bit and bring it back to you for the end of the video. All right, so this firearm here, this number 2, was in really, really, really bad shape when we got it. I mean, you could just still see all the pitting and everything that was in it. It was non-functional, but now she still ain't pretty, but she works. And I mean, that's the main thing, is it's going to work. I mean, do I wish we could have made this a better looking gun than it is? Yes, but at the same point, I did not want to really work on removing metal and shaping and doing all that, because again, this weapon is an all matching parts gun. It's not a parts weapon. It's not one that, well, it's not one that's been pieced together. I mean, we can, as I said in the video multiple times, we can always replace the cylinder and the barrel. But right now, even though it looks ugly, it's functional. So with that, we've got a ton of stuff going on back here. As you can tell, we've got other videos going on that we're currently working on, other projects, and we really want to work on getting more projects out to you. So hit that like and subscribe button so that we can help get more of this out. And the more we do, the more you see, the more we can get these firearms back to a functional state. So on that note, we'll see you next time on the Armory.